I thought I'd left the miles behind me on the road, scattered to the four winds, lightened up my load. But the wind came circling back around one Sunday afternoon. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, made me face the truth too soon. They landed at my doorstep like a pile of dirty clothes. Every lie I'd spoken, every secret no one knows. The wind had gathered all of them, wouldn't let them rest. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, put me to the test. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, laid them at my door. Every wrong I tried to scatter came back to settle score. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, and I had to face them all. I knelt down in that pile of shame and cried out to the Lord. I can't escape what I've done, can't afford to be ignored. He said, son, the wind's my servant, bringing you to me. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, so I could finally be free. What we scatter to the wind, God can gather back, not to condemn us, but to get us on the track. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, but Jesus took them all, gathered up my failures, answered mercy's call. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, so grace could make me whole. Yeah, the wind dragged my sins back to my feet and saved my weary soul. Now I don't scatter nothing to the wind no more. The wind dragged my sins back to my feet, and Jesus settled the score. The highway noise had faded, no more trucks rolling by, just silence and the sunset painting up the sky. I pulled over at that place where sound just disappeared. I found God waiting where the road went quiet, and drew near fierce. I'd been running from the stills, filling up with sound, radio and engine keeping heaven's voice drowned. But in that sacred silence, in that holy hush, I found God waiting where the road went quiet, felt the rush. I found God waiting where the road went quiet, stillness of the way, where the noise had ended and peace began to stay. I found God waiting where the road went quiet, and He spoke without a sound. Verse 3, didn't need the thunder, didn't need a mighty roar, just met me in the silence I'd been running from before. Now I seek out quiet places, pull over when I can. I found God waiting where the road went quiet. Understand, in the quiet we can hear what the noise drowns out. God's been waiting in the stillness, that's what faith's about. I found God waiting where the road went quiet, in the space between the noise. Heard His gentle whisper, felt His holy voice. I found God waiting where the road went quiet. Now I'm listening every day. Yeah, I found God waiting where the road went quiet. And He showed me the way. Now I look for quiet places on every road I take. I found God waiting where the road went quiet. For heaven's sake. I've been carrying my reputation like a crown upon my head. Everything they called me, every word that had been said, was standing in a mirror, something shattered in the dark. Night my name broke under its own weight, left a mark. All the labels and the titles, all the things I thought I was, came crashing down around me just because I couldn't hold the image, couldn't be that man no more. Night my name broke under its own weight, hit the floor. Under its own weight, I heard it shatter loud. All the things they called me, all the lies I'd vowed. The night my name broke under its own weight, and I was finally free. God said, son, you're not defined by what the world has named you here. Giving you a new name, one that's crystal clear. Now I answer to beloved, to forgiven, to redeemed. The night my name broke under its own weight, I was freed from the dream. Sometimes names we carry become too much to bear. God breaks them so He can give us names that show His care. The night my name broke under its own weight was the night I was reborn. No more false identity, no more being torn. The night my name broke under its own weight, God God gave me His own. Yeah, the night my name broke under its own weight, and I'm finally known. Now I carry just one name, the one that Jesus gave. The night my name broke under its own weight, and He called me saved. I didn't think I had any prayers left inside of me. Thought my soul was too hardened, too dry to speak freely. But standing in my brokenness and all my fractured parts, a prayer bled through the cracks of my soul. My broken heart, it came out red and honest, raw and unrefined. Not the pretty words of Sunday, but the desperate kind, seeping through the fissures that the years had made. Prayer bled through the cracks of my soul, unafraid. A prayer bled through the cracks of my soul, when I thought I was too broken, rising from the damage, finding words unspoken. A prayer bled through the cracks of my soul and reached up to the sky. God said, son, the best prayers come from broken places here. The ones that bleed through cracks are the ones I hold most dear. Now I don't try to patch my soul, I let the cracks remain. A prayer bled through the cracks of my soul, healing pain. Brokenness ain't weakness, it's where the light gets in, where prayers can flow most freely, healing can begin. A prayer bled through the cracks of my soul, like water from a stone. Proved I wasn't empty, proved I wasn't alone. A prayer bled through the cracks of my soul, made me finally whole. Yeah, prayer bled through the cracks of my soul and saved my very soul. Now I treasure every crack, every broken part I own. A prayer bled through the cracks of my soul and brought me to the throne. I'd been running from the facts for 15 years or more, sprinting from the mirror, racing from the door. But standing at the water's edge, I heard it plain and clear. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun, made me hear. It said you're not as strong as you pretend to be. You're hurting and you're broken and you need to be set free. I tried to walk away, but the current kept on calling. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun. I kept falling. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun, about who I really am. Not the man I'm showing, but a broken, desperate lamb. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun, and I couldn't run no more. So I waded in that water, let it wash over my lies. Confessed to all the running and all the alibis. The river held the truth and wouldn't let it go. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun, help me know. Truth will chase us down till we stop and turn around. The river's always speaking with a holy, honest sound. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun, but it set me free at last. No more running from the honest word, no more hiding from my past. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun. Now I'm standing in the stream. Yeah, the river spoke the truth I tried to outrun. Now I listen to that river every chance I get. The river spoke the truth I tried to outrun, and I ain't running yet. I was stumbling down the mountain, losing every fight, and tripping over my mistakes in the middle of the night. Every time I hit the ground, I thought this is the end. Heaven watched me fall, still called me home again. I figured God had given up, turned his face away. After all the times I'd failed him, what else could I say? But a voice kept calling through my falling, steady as the dawn. Heaven watched me fall and still called me home, kept calling on. Heaven watched me fall and still called me home, didn't turn away. Even when I stumble, even when I stray, heaven watched me fall and still called me home and never gave up on me. Finally hit the bottom, couldn't fall no further down. Looked up and saw the gates of glory shining all around. God said, son, I've been calling you through every single fall. Heaven watched me fall and still called me home through it all. Falling don't disqualify us from His love and grace. He calls us home while we're falling, catches us in that place. Heaven watched me fall and still called me home with arms open wide. Didn't wait for me to get up, just stayed by my side. Heaven watched me fall and still called me home. Now I'm finally there. Yeah, heaven watched me fall and still called me home and answered every prayer. Now I know that falling don't mean I'm not His own. Heaven watched me fall, still called me home, and brought me safely home. I'd forgotten who I was, lost in all the shame. Couldn't recall the man I'd been before I changed my name. Was standing at that hilltop, looking at that wood. The cross remembered me when I didn't understood. It had been there waiting since before I'd gone astray, holding on to who I was meant to be someday. While I'd forgotten everything, even how to pray, the cross remembered me when I didn't show the way. The cross remembered me when I didn't, held my name in mind. When I'd lost my identity, it helped me find. The cross remembered me when I didn't, and called me back to life. Jesus said, I've known your name since before the world began. You may have forgotten, but I've held you in my hand. Now I'm learning who I am through the cross's memory. The cross remembered me when I didn't, set me free. When we lose ourselves in the living of this life, the cross holds who we are through the darkness and the strife. The cross remembered me when I didn't, and kept my soul intact. When I'd forgotten everything, it brought my memory back. The cross remembered me when I didn't. The cross remembered me when I didn't. Now I remember too. Yeah, the cross remembered me when I didn't, and made me new. Now I stand before that cross and I remember clear. The cross remembered me when I didn't, and brought me here. Couldn't see it, couldn't hear it, but I felt it there. A melody behind the blackness floating in the air. Deep inside my blindness, in the shadow of my mind, a hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes. Help me find. I'd been walking without vision, stumbling through the night, lost in my own darkness, couldn't find the light. But that holy song kept playing where my sight used to be. The hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes, setting me free. The hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes when I couldn't see, singing in the blackness, guiding me to thee. The hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes and showed me the way home. Then one morning I woke up and I could see again. The hymn had led me through the darkness, through the pain. Now I hum that melody every chance I get. The hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes, can't forget. Music lives inside us, even when sight fails. The hymn can guide us through when everything else pales. A hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes, like a lighthouse in the storm. Kept me moving forward, kept my spirit warm. A hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes. Now I see the light. Yeah, a hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes and made everything right. Now I close my eyes sometimes just to hear it play. A hymn trembled in the dark behind my eyes and showed me the way. I was driving through a downpour on a Tuesday afternoon. Windshield wipers beating out a lonesome tune. Then I saw them by the roadside, drenched and looking cold. I saw my past standing in the rain with my shadow growing old. My past was who I used to be, my shadow who I'd hide. Both of them were soaking wet, standing side by side. I pulled over to the shoulder, didn't know what I should do. I saw my past standing in the rain with my shadow both looked blue. I saw my past getting beaten by the storm. Two parts of me I've left behind, trying to stay warm. I saw my past standing in the rain with my shadow. They were waiting there for me. Jesus stood there with them, sheltering them both. Said, son, these are part of you, part of your growth. I got out and embraced them, brought them in from the cold. I saw my past standing in the rain with my shadow. Now I'm whole. We can't leave parts behind and pretend they're not our own. God brings them back together so we can be fully known. I saw my past standing in the rain with my shadow, but I brought him both inside. No more leaving parts of me out in the rain to hide. Standing in the rain with my shadow. Now we're all walking home. Yeah, I saw my past standing in the rain with my shadow. And we're no longer alone. Now my past and shadow walk with me each day. I saw my past standing in the rain with my shadow, and we found a better way. I couldn't take another step, my legs had given out. Collapsed there on the highway, filled with fear and doubt. Thought my journey was over, thought I'd reach the end. Grace met me where my footsteps died, became my friend. I was lying on the pavement, staring at the sky, wondering if this was how a man like me should die. But then I felt a presence, gentle as the breeze. Grace met me where my footsteps died, brought me to my knees. Grace met me where my footsteps died, the ending of my road. Right where I stopped walking, it lifted up my load. Grace met me where my footsteps died and carried me along. God said, son, your footsteps ended so that mine could start. I've been waiting for this moment, waiting for your heart. Now he carries me when I can't walk, holds me when I fall. Grace met me where my footsteps died, gave me all in all. end of our own power is the start of His. Grace meets us where we're dying and gives us life that is. Grace met me where my footsteps died, where I had nothing left. Picked me up and carried me when I was out of breath. Grace met me where my footsteps died. Now I'm walking new. Yeah, grace met me where my footsteps died and saw me through. Now I don't fear the stopping or the ending of my stride. Grace met me where my footsteps died and walks me by His side. I've been crying on the highway for 100 miles or more. Every tear that hit the asphalt held a story from before. I couldn't hold the sorrow, couldn't keep it all inside. The road held my tears longer than I could. Took them in stride. Each drop soaked into the pavement, mixed with dust and rain. The road absorbed my suffering, took on all my pain. While I kept breaking down, the road stayed strong and true. The road held my tears longer than I could, saw me through. The road held my tears longer than I could, carried all my grief while I was falling apart. It gave me relief. The road held my tears longer than I could, never let me go. I realized that highway was a picture of God's grace, steady and unchanging, always in its place, taking all our sorrow, holding all our pain. The road held my tears longer than I could, again and again. When we can't hold our tears, when they overflow and fall, God's grace is like the highway, catching them all. The road held my tears longer than I could. When I was breaking down, absorbed my every sorrow, kept me on solid ground. The road held my tears longer than I could. Now I'm driving free. Yeah, the road held my tears longer than I could, and it set me free. Now when tears come falling, I let them hit the ground. The road held my tears longer than I could, and grace is what I found. The darkness was closing in, I could feel it getting near, about to steal my very soul, about to take what I held dear. I was slipping into nothing, about to fall apart. God took my hand before the night took my heart, gave me a new start. The shadows had their fingers wrapped around my chest so tight, squeezing out the life in me, stealing all my life. But just before they claimed me, just before the final fall, God took my hand before the night took my heart, heard my call. God took my hand before the night took my heart, pulled me from the edge, right before the darkness could make its final pledge. God took my hand before the night took my heart, and saved me just in time. Now I'm walking in the daylight with his hand still holding mine, never letting go of me, drawing a divine line between me and the darkness that tried to steal my soul. God took my hand before the night took my heart, made me whole. God's timing is perfect, never early, never late. He grabs us right before we pass through darkness gate. God took my hand before the night took my heart, in the final moment there, snatched me from the shadows, answered my desperate prayer. God took my hand before the night took my heart, now I'm his forever. Yeah, God took my hand before the night took my heart, and we'll walk together. Now I hold his hand daily, never letting go my part. God took my hand before the night took my heart, and saved my very heart.